Hey guys, welcome to Channel Weird. It's another day, another Saturday. We're glad to be here to talk about the weird stuff that goes on in the Pacific Northwest, some of the weird people or the people who contribute to the weirdness of the Pacific Northwest. My guest today is Jake Anderson, and he doesn't really contribute to the weird, but he certainly contributes to what I would call fringe journalism from the standpoint of mysteries. He has a website called The Ghost Diaries, but it's not about the Ghost Diaries that I'm so fascinated with. Jake has a book, best-selling book. It's called Gone at Midnight. And Gone at Midnight is about the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. Many of you are probably familiar with a special right now, a TV, I guess, mini-series that's on Netflix right now talking about the Elisa Lam case and the Cecil Hotel, or the Cecil Hotel, I guess. I don't know how you say it. Cecil, Cecil. Either way, one of the most, I guess you could call it, haunted hotels in Hollywood, actually, California, Los Angeles. But Jake is one of the pioneers with the book Gone at Midnight, and it was a lot of things that Jake and I discussed before he went to print with this, and we had a lot of interviews here. Jake, first, welcome to Channel Weird. It's good to have you here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's awesome that you came here to speak about this because of the timeliness. I mean, the Elisa Lam case has intrigued a lot of people over time. Many people don't know about the case, but it was something that I was obsessed with for a good long time because not only is it a strange case, but it's also a case where there are a lot of synchronicities and paranormal, I guess you could call it, intrigue with this case. In fact, when we talked, you were actually putting together, I guess it was a documentary or something, and I was in there and talking with you about it on this documentary. And I focus on the paranormal. What is it? I mean, the Elisa Lam case is such a mystery. Do you think that it has paranormal overtones, or is there a logical explanation for all the weirdness? First of all, why don't you explain to us the Elisa Lam case for those who don't know? First, let's not put the cart before the horse, but let's do something about this.
Right. Well, I mean, you're right. It's a very mysterious case, and a lot of people have different. I always explain it. The case is just kind of like a Rorschach test, where everyone who looks at it projects their worldview on it and has a different approach to it. And yeah, it's had a unique place in the zeitgeist of popular culture, which is, of course, evidenced by the fact that it's now a big Netflix documentary. The case itself, it's about a young woman named Elisa Lam who took a solo trip from Vancouver, British Columbia, down to Southern California by herself and ended up staying in a hotel, probably one of the worst places she could have stayed in. And it's been very mysterious what happened to her. She went missing, and then the police released a infamous surveillance tape that showed her acting somewhat bizarre before she disappeared. She went missing around midnight, and then about 10 days later, they found her body, her nude body, in the water tank on the roof, and her clothes were in the tank with her. So there was immediately a death investigation that the police ultimately concluded was an accident. Obviously, there's a lot of people who don't think it was an accident, and there's also a lot of people who think, yeah, the hotel has, whether you believe in paranormal activity or not, the history of the Cecil Hotel is completely mired in strange stories and whatnot. So it's part of the lore, whether you believe it or not. And then the other component of the case that drew me into it was the fact that Elisa Lam suffered from depression and bipolar disorder, which are illnesses that have affected my family and people I know and love, and to a certain extent myself. And so I wanted to kind of dig in and try and, I guess, disambiguate. I think that's a word.
Yeah.
I use that on Wikipedia. Yeah,
exactly.
And try and, at first I wanted to just kind of view the case through the lens of mental illness and how people will find other explanations for the weird things that happen in the mind that we don't fully understand yet. And then the more I dug into it, the more I started finding anomalies that made me think incongruities in the case. That made me think that at the very least it was a botched investigation. And then I went and stayed at the hotel a couple times by myself, and that's when I approach paranormal activity from a little bit more of a skeptic's point of view, though I'm open to it. Mm-hmm. And I have my theory as to what it is, and me and you have talked about it, and I'm sure we'll get more into it here. But whatever it is, there is something going on in that hotel, whether it's trauma from the past that is echoing, or whether it's just a place that happens to attract a lot of people at the end of their tether, it exists in a very rundown part of LA and a gentrified area now. So there's just a lot of weird socio-political tension there as well. It's just a strange place.
The hotel, I understand, is being, refab or refurbished.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why. I remember when I first met you, and I mean, you stayed at the hotel. I wanted to do an investigation in the hotel. We got a letter from the management of the Cecil Hotel saying at no time are we allowed to come into that hotel and do a paranormal investigation. They were so adamant about it. They said, no, we don't want any bad publicity. They kept us. And then all of a sudden, they changed their minds. They wanted to have people come in, do investigations. I think Zach Bagans did something there. The Ghost Hunters did. There's, like I say, numerous documentaries now. Your book, of course, came out before the documentaries did. Your wonderful book came out, very detailed. We worked on this documentary that maybe still see the light of day. Who knows? You need money to get behind that.
It's going to happen, but yeah, we were on it before everyone else was.
Yeah, and I think I was kind of on it because
you were.
There was Dark Water, the movie Dark Water. I don't know if people are familiar with that film, but if you go back and you watch Dark Water, which came out like years before the Elisa Lam case happened, the whole movie, I guess synopsis, is similar to what happened with Lisa Lam. The faulty elevator, crazy elevator, the tank with a body floating in it, in a hotel. All these things were like
the water dripping down into the room.
Exactly. It was just really a creepy film, and it was I guess you could call it a precursor or a pretext or maybe even an omen as to what was going to happen to Elisa Lam. And what's really, really bothersome for me is I did watch the Netflix documentary, and every time they go to that sequence in the security elevator with her in there, I always get a chill. It never ceases. I mean, I've been seeing it forever, but I always get a chill when I watch her behavior in that elevator and how it seems she's playing with some imaginary friend or demon or whatever it may be. I mean, what is she addressing? Who was she waiting for? And why did that elevator not close? It remained open the whole time when she pushed all those buttons, and then eventually it closes, and that's when she disappears.
Yeah, and there's also a time code cut in the tape too that the series somehow did not explain. It would be very easy to figure out. Like the time code literally cuts. Like you can watch the time code at the bottom is very scrambled, right? It's hard to even tell what it's saying, but you can tell where the minute hand is, okay? And you can tell that the minute hand changes twice in 7 seconds, and it changes right as after she's left the frame, which for people who know anything about video editing, you know that's the time to cut it, because if there's nothing moving in the frame, that's when you can cut something out and make it look cohesive. So if someone was in that video that we didn't see, that would have been the time to do it, and that just happens to be when the time code cut is. The easiest way to figure out what was going on behind that is this a motion-activated surveillance camera? I guess they didn't ask that. As for the activity itself as to what she's doing, I mean, the psychological explanation is that she's experiencing something called psychomotor agitation, which is a symptom of bipolar disorder. But there's also things going on there that are, a little bit more spooky. It does, at some point, look like she's speaking with someone who's off camera. And some body language analysts who have looked at it explain that she definitely is showing signs that she's thinking about someone, some kind of.
Well, she's also looking like she's hiding from someone as well.
Right at the beginning,
she's kind of standing there, transfixed against the wall, kind of looking around like, is somebody there watching me? Mm-hmm. And then she doubles back, and then she's like pushing all the buttons, and then she walks out, and she looks like she's talking to somebody. Mm-hmm. And then she's kind of like doing this strange thing with her hands. She goes back in the elevator, looks around, and she's like playing like hide and seek with the elevator. Like, why wouldn't the elevator close?
Yeah.
I pushed all these buttons and it won't close. And then she disappears. She walks out of the camera range, and then the elevator finally closes.
Right.
And it's like, how did that happen? Why didn't? And that's the question everybody asks. Why didn't the elevator close? What is going on with her? Who's she talking to? Who's she playing around with? What is going on here? And this new thing that you've told me, the cut in the tape, would that mean that somebody went into the security tapes and edited out someone who she may have been with?
Well, that's the question. Let me be clear. There's no doubt that there's a time code cut. Like you can watch the time code, the minute hand changes, and then 7 seconds later, the minute hand changes again. Like there's no other explanation for that. As for the doors closing, I mean, yeah, it could have to do with the fact that she pressed so many buttons. Maybe she pressed the door open button. Mm-hmm. I think John Lorden, who runs the Brain Scratch YouTube channel, he appeared in the series. I think he did a test where sometimes the doors do take a while to close. But yeah, it's also just, it's eerie that it finally closes the second she leaves the frame, as though the hotel were toying with her, playing with her mind, something like that, which something I experienced while I was there. I couldn't sleep while I was there. I felt like the whole time I was there, I felt like there was I just felt like the hotel was just like calling for me, like not literally, but it just felt like there was something going on that I needed my attention there. And by the way, the surveillance tape, Elisa is on the 14th floor, and that's the same floor that serial killer Richard Ramirez lived on when he stayed at the hotel in the late 80s. So, maybe.
And what's interesting is, I guess I got it on the mind, but most hotels don't have a 13th floor.
Right. Yeah.
So either she was on the 13th floor, literally, or whatever. I mean, 14th floor, 13th floor. There is no 13th floor on a hotel, just out of superstition.
Yeah. I actually wrote a whole half chapter about the history of the 13th floor's omission and all it almost goes back into centuries ago, the superstitions. There's 5 different reasons why, but ultimately I had to cut it because it wasn't all that relevant.
Yeah, most buildings, they don't have 13th floors.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a 13th floor, I mean, I guess, I'm not saying all buildings don't have them, but still.
Most don't, yeah.
They skip to 14, and so that would be that she was on the 13th, literally. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing about the history of the hotel, is that a lot of people don't realize that people like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, lived there. I mean, he'd go out, commit his murders with blood on his hands, walk up to the hotel and wash his hands in the sink, and sleep there. There was also another killer,
Jack Unterweger.
Jack Unterweger, who's a guy that killed prostitutes.
Yeah, he was Austrian, came from Austria.
And he lived there.
He lived there, yeah. While he moved there from Austria after he was released from prison for killing someone there, and he's probably the only serial killer in history that has extended his killing spree using literature. He used literature to trick the intellectual community in Austria to believe that they had a case of rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. And so he became the poster child of rehabilitating someone. Mm-hmm. And so they let him out, and he immediately flies to Los Angeles posing as a journalist, and he travels along with cops and cases up where the sex workers are working. And then he killed them, and then he was reporting on the cases that he was reporting on the murders that he himself had committed.
Right.
And then ultimately he was finally caught, and he was on the 12th floor. And someone, psychic I interviewed, was saying that when she went into the 12th floor, she felt like she was being strangled.
Oh, it's a horrible place, the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
Jake Anderson with us tonight, the author of Gone at Midnight. Talking about Elisa Lam case, the Cecil Hotel, which is a character in unto itself. We'll talk more about that coming up on Channel Weird. Stay tuned.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com.
Following a disaster, your home emergency kit will be invaluable. Building a kit doesn't take long, and you'll be glad you did when disaster strikes. Here's a list of items to include: a first aid kit, battery-powered or hand crank radio, flashlight, extra batteries, an emergency whistle, cell phone with charger, cash and small bills, a local map with your family meeting place identified, food and water to last 2 weeks, garbage bags, dust masks, and seasonal clothing and footwear. Add prescription medications or any other important items unique to your family's needs. Once you've created your kit, check food expiry dates once a year and update seasonal clothing for growing children. If you have pets, make sure you have everything your furry friends need in an easy-to-carry grab-and-go bag. To learn more about preparing an emergency kit, visit mil.wa.gov/preparedness and get 2 weeks ready.
Be sure to get your low-cost 2-week supply of food with a miraculous 25-year shelf life by going to preparewithgroundzero.com.
Have you noticed that well-known and controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored on the internet by corporate and political interests? This is Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero Radio. And in order to counter against the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digitalized playground called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring videos, movies, audio clips, archive shows, ebooks, e-magazines, documents, and so much more. Our news aggregator, Newsifer, provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We'll also be hosting other Ground Zero-friendly podcasts like Into the Paranormal with Jeremy Scott and The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Aftermath.media has a social media platform along with a chat room to interact with many of our listeners. And about once a month, you can chat with me about anything. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are now available. The monthly subscription for Aftermath.media is only $9.99 a month. This includes exclusive access to our library and Ground Zero Archive podcasts. If you're just interested in having access to the archive podcast, it's only $4.99 a month. So sign up today by going to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media. Jake Anderson with us, investigative journalist, author of Gone at Midnight, story of Elisa Lam. We were talking about the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles where Elisa Lam met her demise. Creepy hotel. We were talking about how the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, lived there. We talk about also a number of other notorious killers. Now, I had heard, and I don't know, maybe you can clarify this, that even the Black Dahlia used to hang out at the bar at the Cecil. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, it has been a claim. I think it's been disputed. I think some fact checkers tried to figure that out. So it's dubious whether the question is. Some people felt that she went into the Cecil Hotel bar the night she was killed. That can't be borne out necessarily by the facts, but the Cecil Hotel is only blocks from where she was killed. So, you know, in fact, I think you can see the Cecil Hotel sign from the street where her body was found. So.
And this was in an area. The Cecil Hotel, for those of you that don't know, is in an area called Skid Row. Mm-hmm. It's where, you know, all the homeless and poor and all sorts of types of people, you know, basically camp out there. And and that's the thing is that I didn't realize that there were ads that were placed like on the internet saying, "Hey, come stay at the Cecil Hotel. It's cheap," you know, and they don't tell you that it's in the middle of a crime-ridden area, and you just go there. And I think that was another thing. I mean, Elisa Lam goes there. She's from Vancouver, Canada, a Chinese girl, in the middle of this place that is crime-ridden, and staying at this hotel. I mean, you don't go out and do much, I'm sure. I mean, so you're there all the time, and it's depressing. But you were saying that when you were there, you stayed there. When did you stay there?
I can't remember the year. It was either like 2000. I think it was once in 2017, and then once in like 2018.
And so you felt the heaviness of the place.
Yeah, like as soon as you walk in, it's an oppressive, claustrophobic feeling going in there. And when I was in my room, I just felt. I mean, it almost sounds like I'm being hyperbolic when I say it, but like I couldn't sleep, and the whole night I felt like someone was gonna stop at the room and try and kill me. That's
Ooh.
Like I kept getting up and looking out the eye hole, and I'm always scared that I'm gonna look out that eye hole and like see someone walking down and then stop
and open the door, try to open it and kill you.
Normally I don't walk around a hotel room being like they're coming to kill me, but.
Another coincidence, too, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but once again bringing the paranormal reality into view, was that I guess after Elisa Lam died, there was a strain of tuberculosis that the homeless were the homeless were being stricken with a case of tuberculosis, and it was called the Elisa Lam.
At the time that she went missing, there was a strain of tuberculosis that was real bad in downtown LA. It was affecting the homeless population. The CDC sent a team to deal with it, and the test they used for that particular strain happens to be called the Lam-Elisa test, like her name backwards.
The Lam-Elisa test.
It's like these are like letters that represent like longer scientific words.
So it's all acronym.
Yeah, I think it's an acronym. Yeah, Lam-Elisa, and they developed that test at University of British Columbia, Vancouver, where she went. So it's just incredible synchronicity. Like it's just almost unbelievable that the test would have her name on it.
I think that if people really, I mean, it's like a rabbit hole. If people were to really sit down and look into this case, they would be dumbfounded at the synchronicities of Dark Water, the film that came out prior to her dying. The elevator sequence that people have been looking at as they've been watching this, the elevator sequence, which, you know, watching it, every time I watch it, I feel a sick kind of chill go down my spine. Knowing the character, and that's another thing, is the Cecil Hotel itself is a character in this story. For the first time, you have a hotel that is just as much of a character as Elisa Lam or anyone else who stayed at the hotel. I know that American Horror Story, around the time you and I were first talking about the Elisa Lam case and the hotel, they did Hotel for the American Horror Story, which was based on the Cecil Hotel. So it just seemed a little odd that, you know, all of a sudden there was this resurgence of interest. And now with Netflix, people are going to pick up on this Netflix special, and there's going to be another surge of interest. It's one of those stories that is probably one of the best, if not most terrifying, real paranormal stories that has ever. I mean, look, you can speculate all you want about the Amityville Horror House. you can speculate all you want about other stories, but the Elisa Lam case is documented. It's terrifying. It's sad. I mean, there were so many things about this story that, you know, and here's another thing too. You know, usually when you have cases like, you know, Roswell or any of these other things where people go, well, something must have happened that was like bizarre or whatever, and it all spins into mythology. There's no mythology about Elisa Lam. There's no mythology about the Cecil Hotel. It's reality. This is like a hotel from hell.
Yeah, well, she slipped into the mythology unwittingly. You know, now she's a part of the mythos of that place forever, and it's sad, or it's ironic. Like, she used to write a lot about the internet. She would blog a lot.
She was on social media a lot, right?
She was on Tumblr. She loved Tumblr, and she used the internet to help her with her depression. She felt a sense of community with the internet. And so it's kind of a grim irony that she now kind of lives forever on the internet as this morbid horror meme. And, yeah, and it is sad. It's a sad case, and sometimes that gets kind of covered up in all of the weirdness. Is that you know, she was just like had a lot of promise as a writer, as a person, and it's sad that she didn't get a chance to, you know, resolve. You know, I mean, everyone is a little confused at the age of 21, and a lot of people are suffering depression and bipolar disorder, the very stigmatized illness. And so it's sad that, you know, her life got cut short in such a absurd way, even though we don't even fully know what happened.
In the time I've known you and the time we've done interviews together, we've talked before, I've never asked you this question, but I'm going to ask you this question. It just come to my mind. Do you have nightmares about her?
That is a good question. I have had nightmares about her. Well, I mean, dreams. I document a couple in the book. I had one where she was in, I guess because I was analyzing her so much, I had a dream where she was like in one of those rooms where you kind of survey people, and I was like a journalist, like writing about her, because I think I felt a lot of guilt about, you know, writing about her case without knowing her. So I haven't had any, like, you know, proper nightmares that you would expect to see in a movie. But yeah, she did kind of become a part of my subconscious in a way. I think it's just because I identify so much with her. And, the
reason why I ask is because I had a dream about her once.
Oh, yeah?
But it was a dream where I met her like at a library, and I think it's because I can't remember who I talked with, but they said they met her, and it was by accident. The guy that runs Steam Shovel Press,
right? Yeah,
he met her. She had visited. I guess, I don't know if it was like a book fair or a Comic Con or something that was going on in the area, and everybody knew her, fell in love with her, said she was genuine, funny, interesting, and she was just, you know, friendly with everybody, and then, you know, she disappears, and the family doesn't know what happened to her. She's not on the internet anymore, none of that, and nobody knew. They were interviewing a couple in this special, the British couple that stayed there, talking about the water. And that was one of the things that really stuck with me, how, you know, those who were there, not knowing that she was decaying in the water, her body was decaying in the water that we're drinking and bathing in, and the expression, I guess you could, the description that one of the this British couple, where they were talking about how they drank the water and it had a sickeningly sweet taste to it, and that you know, brushing their teeth with it and bathing in it, and the water was kind of a strange color. And I always thought, well, why would you drink the water if it looked like that? Why would you do that? And then just describing that you're drinking this water where this woman is, you know, decaying in. That's another horror story in and of itself. That, you know, what do you have to do? Do you have to get a gamma globulin shot, or do you have to get something to protect you from some, you know? And they said no, they were fine, I guess. But I'm thinking just that trauma of knowing that you drank the water in this container, from this container where this woman was decaying over a period of time, just to me would be horrific.
Yeah, I think a lot of the residents had to sign like legal paperwork saying that they wouldn't sue the hotel if they wanted to stay longer. And I think that British couple sued the hotel. I'm not sure if they settled out of court or anything, but
oh my gosh,
it's definitely.
Well, who'd be at fault? I mean, you sue the hotel. The hotel didn't know, unless I don't know. It's just a creepy case for sure. Jake Anderson with us today on Channel Weird. I'm getting all
thinking about that water.
Yeah, thinking about that water, exactly, that dark water. Anyway, we'll be back with more with Jake Anderson right here on Channel Weird. Don't go away.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com.
Following a disaster, your home emergency kit will be invaluable. Building a kit doesn't take long, and you'll be glad you did when disaster strikes. Here's a list of items to include: a first aid kit, battery-powered or hand crank radio, flashlight, extra batteries, an emergency whistle, cell phone with charger, cash and small bills, a local map with your family meeting place identified, food and water to last 2 weeks, garbage bags, dust masks, and seasonal clothing and footwear. Add prescription medications or any other important items unique to your family's needs. Once you've created your kit, check food expiry dates once a year and update seasonal clothing for growing children. If you have pets, make sure you have everything your furry friends need in an easy-to-carry grab-and-go bag. To learn more about preparing an emergency kit, visit mil.wa.gov/preparedness and get 2 weeks ready.
Be sure to get your low-cost 2-week supply of food with a miraculous 25-year shelf life by going to preparewithgroundzero.com.
Have you noticed that well-known and controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored on the internet by corporate and political interests? This is Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero Radio. And in order to counter against the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digitalized playground called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring videos, movies, audio clips, archive shows, ebooks, e-magazines, documents, and so much more. Our news aggregator, Newsifer, provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We'll also be hosting other Ground Zero-friendly podcasts like Into the Paranormal with Jeremy Scott and The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Aftermath.media has a social media platform along with a chat room to interact with many of our listeners. And about once a month, you can chat with me about anything. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are now available. The monthly subscription for Aftermath.media is only $9.99 a month. This includes exclusive access to our library and Ground Zero archive podcasts. If you're just interested in having access to the archive podcast, it's only $4.99 a month. So sign up today by going to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media. Jake Anderson with us, Gone at Midnight. I was reading the reviews here of your book. From Mediations on Quantum Mechanics and the Meaning of Consciousness, Gone at Midnight is not the typical true crime potboiler. It represents an evolution of the genre, with one infamous crime giving way to gonzo-like reflections, cultural criticism, and a writing style that befits both the book form and the internet blog. Gone at Midnight is the type of true crime book that you stay up all night reading, I agree. It is also the type of work that raises more questions than answers, and that's perfectly okay. So working in the quantum mechanics, which apply, as much as it sounds crazy, but applying the quantum mechanics to all this, it was like she was involved in some quantum entanglement that needed to be fulfilled. Because like I say, you know, you look at the film Dark Water. People rent the film Dark Water, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Watch Dark Water. See that it was done, I don't know how many years before the Lisa Lam case happened. You watch it, and it's the Lisa Lam case in a film before it happened. It's like an echo in transit. You see this quantum entanglement where this, and she was Asian, right? The girl that was in the film that was she Asian? I think she was Asian, right?
I'm not sure.
Maybe not. Anyway, in the film, she dies in a water tank at a hotel, the elevator, faulty elevator and everything like that. And then you have the Elisa Lam case. You have all of these killers that lived, or these people that had horrible things happen to them. Suicides happen to that hotel. All kinds of crazy things happen at that hotel. She walks into the bowels of hell at this hotel, has the same experience with a faulty elevator, disappears without a trace, winds up in a hotel tank of water, like in the film, and then the Lam Elisa test on the tuberculosis guys, the homeless people. That's quantum entanglement. I mean, it is exactly the perfect example of quantum entanglement, where the timeline has to be fulfilled for some reason, and Elisa Lam is a victim of the quantum entanglement. I know that's deep and weird and crazy, but what do you think?
Well, first of all, there was a Japanese version of the film first.
Okay,
that's what you were thinking.
All right.
of.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, you talk on your Ground Zero a lot. In fact, I got this phrase from you. I attribute it to you, dark synchronicity. And I mean, first of all, apologies to any actual physicists out there in listening to what I'm about to say, because I don't know enough about quantum mechanics to say that it applies, but
it's the scientific way of calling it magic.
Right.
But people get pissed off when I say that too, but it's true. It's to explain magical or synchronous ideas and things.
Well, there's been a splinter group of very respected physicists. One of them, John Wheeler, who wrote about something called the participatory universe. If you look up John Wheeler, you'll see that he's no one to scoff at. He worked with all of the great quantum physicists of the 20th century, and he put forth a theory that the universe is in some way, entangled with human consciousness, and that human consciousness and reality are constantly trading information, or that we're establishing reality with our consciousness. And most physicists deny that those are the conclusions of some of the experiments, but there's no doubt that the experiments show that the observer affects the experiment. Like,
unless they're acausal, but most people don't understand what acausal means. But go ahead.
Right, and
NPC
and Jung, I never say his name right, but he studied synchronicity for years, and he called it acausal parallelism. That was his description for it, and he went down that rabbit hole. It was ultimately why him and Freud, they were really good friends, and ultimately they kind of split because Freud thought, Jung was going nuts or whatever, but Jung went down that rabbit hole and started to feel like there was more going on. The physicists who go down that rabbit hole and then aren't afraid to not have a definitive conclusion, they feel that there's something we don't understand about the way consciousness and the external world interact with each other. So if you take that to a logical conclusion and assume that that's true, that means that I think that there's a way in which like a place like the Cecil Hotel that has a history of trauma, if that information from the past is still around in some way.
Or it could have been that's another thing, is I was thinking to myself, when you look at it on a quantum level, it's a retrocausal event where something in the future happened that influenced,
right,
like that film, or influenced the test or influenced the hotel itself is probably some retrocausal hellhole where every riffraff and dregs of humanity have been basically tainting the entire substance with the trauma and everything, and it just took on like a tulpa. It basically builds upon itself, or it's an egregore. It builds upon itself, and it's a symbol of evil. And she didn't know what she was walking into, and a lot of people who stay there didn't know what they were walking into. It's like in the special, the couples that was there that drank the water was saying, you get fooled. I mean, they were from England, and they thought, we're going to go to a hotel, stay in L.A. We're going to try to cut our budget as much as we can. So they fool you into coming into this hotel by, charging $75 or less to stay there. And what they don't tell you is it's in a crime area, a high crime area. They don't tell you that Richard Ramirez stayed there. They don't tell you that other criminals have been there, or that people commit suicide there. That it's their last, like you said, the people on the end of their tether go there.
Tons of suicides.
And they kill themselves in that hotel. And then, of course, it's the infamous hotel where Elisa Lam met her demise. And, I mean, they're not going to tell you that. And so now, though, they have to live with the idea that the word is out about this hotel being the most terrifying haunted hotel probably ever talked about in history.
Yeah, incredible dark legacy. And yeah, there's been tons of suicides there, over a dozen, people jumping out the windows, bodies getting caught up in the phone lines. But yeah, I mean, to circle back around to the, the weird aspects of this, because this is Channel Weird, makes sense to talk about it. So like, there was this, it's kind of relevant. There was an experiment, the guy working on something called retroactive precognition, which we've talked about before. And so he did this experiment showing it's anecdotal, it needs to be backed up, and we don't really know what it means, but he showed that statistically a person would be more likely to be able to remember something in the present or pick the right thing in the present if they committed it to memory in the future. Right? So things that like if you show people random images, they're more likely to gravitate toward the one that they will later memorize. They'll later be asked to commit this one to memory. And that affects somehow the present. It's like the information is traveling from the future to the present, or maybe there is no such thing as future or present, but they're just kind of simultaneous happenings.
Yeah, people tend to look at things in a linear fashion, but the idea that everything simultaneously is happening, and everything we're doing now affects the future, whatever's going on in the future is affecting us now, whether we know it or not. That it's like the detritus of the future is affecting us in the present. That we're all heading towards some finality or some major event that's going to change us forever. It's like when 9/11 happened. I had discussed this with Orrin Hatch, who was the head of, who was part of the 9/11 investigations committee, and I said to him, well, no, he was involved with that, and he was involved with some other things. We were talking about communism, how communism fell in the 80s because we made a deal with Osama bin Laden to go in, and during the Russian-Afghani war, he went and, with his men, literally brought the Russians to their knees, and the Russians realized that everything they were doing wasn't working out, so the wall fell. Everything, was peachy keen fine with the Russians, and then 9/11 happened. And 9/11, of course, we say that Osama bin Laden had something to do with it. And I said to Orrin Hatch, I said, are you trying to tell me that making a deal with Osama bin Laden killed, all the wars we fought, brought Russians to their knees, brought down communism? So in other words, 3,000 people had to die on September 11th, 2001 in order for communism to die too. So basically, those who died in the 9/11 attacks died because we made a deal with Osama bin Laden to bring down communism. So communism died because of a deal we made then that in the future would come back. It's really creepy. That's retrocausality. It is.
Which then fed directly into a complete merger of the military-industrial complex with the security state.
Exactly.
And yeah.
See, and that's the thing. I don't think people think that way, but think about it. It did prolong the military-industrial complex. It's put us in this security state we're in now, and who knows what happens, like what is the purpose of COVID-19? 500,000 dying. What was the reason for this, and what were we preparing for prior? What is COVID-19 doing for a future event that is happening? Some people say it is the mimic or the simile of an alien invasion, which is something that people say may happen in the future. That's something to think about. It's kind of weird.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, realistically, it's going to. No need to even get into. Yeah,
it's a rabbit hole. We're going to take a break, but we'll talk about that rabbit hole. Keep that in mind. Yeah. It's just such a weird channel weird today with Jake Anderson. Of course it is. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com.
Following a disaster, your home emergency kit will be invaluable. Building a kit doesn't take long, and you'll be glad you did when disaster strikes. Here's a list of items to include: a first aid kit, battery-powered or hand crank radio, flashlight, extra batteries, an emergency whistle, cell phone with charger, cash and small bills, a local map with your family meeting place identified, food and water to last 2 weeks, garbage bags, dust masks, and seasonal clothing and footwear. Add prescription medications or any other important items unique to your family's needs. Once you've created your kit, check food expiry dates once a year and update seasonal clothing for growing children. If you have pets, make sure you have everything your furry friends need in an easy-to-carry grab-and-go bag. To learn more about preparing an emergency kit, visit mil.wa.gov/preparedness and get 2 weeks ready.
Be sure to get your low-cost 2-week supply of food with a miraculous 25-year shelf life by going to preparewithgroundzero.com.
Have you noticed that well-known and controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored on the internet by corporate and political interests? This is Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero Radio. And in order to counter against the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digitalized playground called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring videos, movies, audio clips, archive shows, ebooks, e-magazines, documents, and so much more. Our news aggregator, Newsifer, provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We'll also be hosting other Ground Zero-friendly podcasts like Into the Paranormal with Jeremy Scott and The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Aftermath.media has a social media platform along with a chat room to interact with many of our listeners. And about once a month, you can chat with me about anything. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are now available. The monthly subscription for Aftermath.media is only $9.99 a month. This includes exclusive access to our library and Ground Zero archive podcasts. If you're just interested in having access to the archive podcast, it's only $4.99 a month. So sign up today by going to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media. Gone at Midnight. The Mysterious Death of Elisa Lam is the book. Jake Anderson is with us, the author of this book. Where do we get it? I mean, people need to read it. They really need to read this book.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can find it online. If you go to Kensington Books, they list all the different suppliers. Obviously, Amazon, Goodreads lists all of the. If you want to get it on an ebook version, Kindle, you can get all those. If you have a local bookstore, I'm sure they need your support if you're going to buy it. For example, here in Portland, Powell's has it online on their website. So however you consume your books, I'm sure you can get it.
You've been, this has kind of been like your life for a while. Are you ready to move on? Are you moving on to other things now, other investigations?
Yeah. I mean, I've been kind of trying to move on for a while, but yeah, it has become to a very real degree like my life. And, I write about that in the book, about just how it, became like it became, very much like a big chapter of my life, researching the case and, looking into all the different synchronicities. I started having them in my own life and just being able to kind of reflect back on, using the importance and synchronicities in your life to, try and, make better decisions in your own life, try and be happier, appreciate life, and, take care of yourself.
So there's that old adage that the closer you become, the closer you go into the abyss, or the more you go into the abyss, the more you feel like that something's being taken back with you when you get out of it.
Right.
What have you taken back? What have you taken out of there?
I definitely feel like I came back like haunted in a way, like just kind of well, I don't know. I guess what did I take from the case? I guess it's important to communicate with the people around you love if they're having problems. It's important to be open with people about things like mental illness, stuff like that. And then at the same time, it's also important to, doggedly pursue the truth, even if different versions come out. If just because we don't know the exact answer on something, doesn't mean that we have to insert an explanation just to make ourselves feel better. It's okay to live in ambiguity sometimes.
In your opinion, what happened to Elisa Lam?
My feeling is that a lot more is going on than we know. As far as whether her death was an accident, it's really hard to say. It's certainly possible, definitely, that she went up to a dark roof by herself, navigated the alarm system, traversed the dark roof, somehow knew that there was a water tank there, climbed the water tank, took the lid off, took her clothes off, took the clothes with her and climbed inside and got trapped there. That's possible, certainly. It's also possible that someone was with her, someone from the hotel who showed her the roof, which would explain how she was able to access the roof. And it would explain how this alarm didn't go off, that she was able to get up there. So I'm kind of dodging your question. It's hard to say for sure what happened. I mean, I will say that I went into the book thinking it was probably like 70-30 an accident. And it's kind of flipped. I think at the very least, I feel like someone was with her or knew of her whereabouts and is at least somewhat responsible for her not getting the help she needed. And at the very least knew she was up there and did not report it.
Is the skeptical side of you holding off on a paranormal explanation?
Yeah, well, it's kind of almost like it's a part of it. Like it's not that I'm not saying that there's no paranormal aspect of it, because I went there and stayed there and felt it.
Right.
I guess if you're asking whether I think that some kind of dark spirit or demon was calling to her from the roof, certainly. I mean,
well, that's pretty big coming from you because you're very objective. I've known you for a long time, and you do have a kind of a streak of skepticism in you.
Right.
And I remember we would have
I'm not saying that's.
Well, I know, but you and I would like have banter and argument over the paranormal aspects of it because you are objective. I am. I claim I am, and I think I am more than most. But I'm not afraid to dabble in that and think, there's a lot of strange stuff going on in this world that we can't explain. And so I'm just wondering, since you've been so close to it and you felt something,
right?
If this is somehow turning you or changing you, and keeping you open more so towards a paranormal response or a paranormal solution than just being as pragmatic as you are.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly my experience there like made me revisit my skepticism, and my basic just feeling is that there's a very real possibility that there is some kind of paranormal activity going on. I feel like it's going to be different than, I'm not sure I believe in like a sentient demon that's out there that is in a different realm that's trying to destroy us or eat our souls or anything. But I think that there is paranormal activity could simply just be just the remnants of energy from the past, remnants of trauma that recreates cycles. The law of attraction, where the similar things tend to repeat.
Right.
And so it could be the universe's way of just like repeating things through information transfer.
It's like going there and it's your own funeral. Saying, well, you're going to go to Cecil? Well, it's your own funeral.
Right.
Pretty much. It's got its reputation, therefore you're walking in. It's like, I don't know if, a house is only haunted because you say it's haunted, and when people walk in, their reaction is that every creak, every knock, everything is a ghost.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe that. And I don't necessarily believe that, whenever I hear somebody say, well, somebody died in this house, and so that's why it's haunted. Well, that would mean then that every hospital's haunted. That would mean that, every funeral home is haunted.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily believe that. I just don't think that just because someone dies there, that there's going to be a ghost haunting the place. There's got to be other reasons than just, because I've always heard that in these ghost shows. Well, I always heard that, an old man died up here and then blah. Well, of course, people die in. You probably are in a house that 3 or 4 people have died in before if you bought it from someone else.
An old man has died everywhere.
I know. So I mean, there's something more to the old idea that someone's died here. I mean, come on, you've got, like I say, notorious killers living there. You've got people committing suicide there. You've got it's a place where crime is high. It's a place where people who are wanting and traumatized and in a horrible state of mind are there. And then you have this innocent foreign exchange student living there, not knowing what she entered into, not knowing that she was literally checking into the hell, literally.
Yeah,
her last
few
nights were in hell.
Well, and check this out. Like since they've been revamping the hotel, they're actively renovating the hotel, and their plan is to build a bar and a pool on the roof where she died.
Oh, man.
Which is not only very distasteful, but it seems like it's yet again...
They're tempting fate.
It's tempting fate. Something is going to happen up there again.
I see. That's the thing that I worry about, because I know that they were very... they were very clear on no uncertain terms that I was not to gather an investigation crew and go to that hotel, because I wanted to.
Yeah, they said
we made the plan.
too.
Remember,
Yeah.
we were going to go.
Yeah,
I was told no. We were sent a letter. No, and then now, I mean, they were very selective. So Zach Bagans and his group goes there, and then now they're doing a special, and now they're promoting it. It becomes this topic of American Horror Story. They're building a mythology so they can sell the mythology.
right. And the series came to a conclusion that was beneficial to the hotel. The series, from what I've heard, does not question anything about the hotel's responsibility. And the manager, they got the manager, and she's able to. 2 different people have told me that like the whole series felt like a PR stunt for the Cecil.
That's what it feels like to me. So I mean, the idea that they're going to turn this hotel into a haunted hotel, stay here, pay your money to get thrilled and scared, get the T-shirt, buy the mug, and remember it was because of a young woman dying here that we're going to be making and cashing in on this whole thing.
Yeah, you're right. It does seem like they're now
morbid.
Cashing in on the paranormal tourism.
It's morbid.
aspect of- yeah.
It's a morbid thing. I don't know why. I don't know. Well, I mean, a good PR person knows, you know, just how to do this. But
Right.
you know, I don't know if anybody would feel right about staying in a hotel and doing so. I mean, I don't know. It's good and bad, but very bad because of what. I mean, opening a pool in a bar
Yeah.
in an area where a woman died.
Yeah, I mean, who knows whether they'll actually end up doing that, but they have been gentrifying that area for a while, and it sounds like they're, yeah, I mean...
Like, what are they going to sell? Root beer floats?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
You know, now that you mention it, that does make sense that they're going to try and cash in
Ugh.
possibly on that. I mean,
Jake Anderson, thank you.
thank you,
For
Clay.
being here on Channel Weird. The book is out there, Gone at Midnight, The Mysterious Death of Elisa Lam. Pick it up wherever fine books are sold, wherever good reads are at, and you're going to read it cover to cover, and it's going to haunt you. That haunted me when I read it. So anyway, thank you, Jake.
Thanks, Clay.
Channel Weird, we'll be back next week. Join us.